Today we have Tom from Nashville with us. He's the founder and chief customer officer of Encube.ai. Hey Tom, can you please tell us a bit more about yourself and what Encube is doing?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I have a bit of a varied background as a investor, entrepreneur, and also as a front-end developer. Mm-hmm. And I got connected to Raghu Gandra, our technical co-founder who's based in Atlanta. Years back, we worked on the same company. And through a venture fund that I run, we actually invested in Encube. And he ended up getting this idea because when he was working at Nokia, he was managing several large-scale application development projects at the same time. Mm-hmm. And so he would often find that it was really difficult to find talent for the next project because he didn't really know what talent he had available to him. Mm-hmm. And so I thought that this was really interesting, hearing stories about the lack of skills data. And so it really got me hooked and made me not only want to invest through our fund, but also join the team. So what Encube does is it's a skills discovery engine that's powered by natural language processing. So what it does is it integrates with enterprise tools. So it could be a project management system. It could be a code repository like GitHub. It could be a marketing automation platform or CRM. Basically, wherever your employees do their work, where they do meaningful work, they just do that work and nothing else. And what we do is we pull the data and we run it through the natural language processing engine. And we pull out all of the explicitly stated skills that are in there and also some of the implicitly stated skills. So what might be implicit is there could be say like a database technology like MongoDB that's implicated in a particular task that we pull, but we'll also it also has a relationship to say NoSQL database programming, and so there's sort of a concept underlying there that we can also infer. So we end up getting that long tail of skills that's often missing from something like a resume or whatever skills data you have in a company directory, and certainly much more than you'd have with just a database full of job titles and job descriptions. So we get a more accurate view of what someone can do, not simply what their job title is.
So basically the problem you're solving is that the HR system at the moment is totally broken. Is it because, question is, it's around, is it the technical skills that are problematic for the current HR system, or is just the HR system in general that is totally broken? What is your opinion and perspective on that?
I don't think that the HR system is broken. There are plenty of companies that we would love to partner with so that we could focus on what we focus on. But I think that mm-hmm. the issue is that traditional HR systems or even some of the kind of more progressive talent management and internal mobility systems out there, they still have this underlying issue that they rely on self-reported data to capture skills. So what we do is we integrate within a company system. We pull data from company systems so that we can get all of the skills we could possibly get. So from traditional sources like resumes, but then also from other productivity tools. That I think is really the big shortcoming. Is relying on self-reported data. And so we'll take that self-reported data, but we'll also get more evidence-based project verified data as well.
So basically what you're saying is we're not trying to replace the HR manager, we're just trying to get them better tool because the current format of the CV is just not working. So it's going to still be a CV, but instead of asking the person to self-report what they know, the NLP is going to do it automatically. So it's just trying to empower the HR manager.
Yeah, so part of it is uncovering more skills. the other part of it is if you want to say that it's still a CV, think of it as like a CV with a more complex structure to it, so that we'll not only pull in more skills, but we'll be able to show the relationships between skills. And so you have you have the possibility of creating a much more visually intuitive CV that shows perhaps clusters of skills where they all have relationships to one another. So you can very quickly identify, okay, exactly what someone can do, what areas of programming or what areas of sales or customer service do they work in. And so on that note, we started by pulling software project management data, but now we're delving into other areas as well. So sales and marketing, finance. So our ultimate goal is to be the skills discovery engine across the enterprise.
So the question is about the reasons your solution is really trendy and timely now. Is it because people get new skills faster, or rather than they've never actually reported what they knew already? I guess it's a bit of both, but what is your take?
Yeah, I think it's a very, very interesting question. So I think part of it is that this has been a problem for a long time of poor skills data. But then in particular now, as you say, people not only acquire skills really quickly, they're forced to acquire skills rapidly. And so the ability to pull in work data from work that people are doing now or in the last 3-4 years is really important for companies to be able to see what skills they have available, but then also see who might be the best learners or the people best positioned to learn the skills of the future. So companies will invariably have certain skills in their mind that are going to be skills of that are currently in demand or ones that are of growing strategic importance. And so with a tool like ours, they can see not only what skills they have available at the company, but also who might have skills that are adjacent to a strategic skill like Python. Somebody who could, maybe you can move some of your Java developers over to Python. And so we'll identify those opportunities wherever they are in the company.
So what you're observing right now, when companies use your solution, do they hire less? Or, I mean, what is the consequence?
I think that the ultimate goal is to reduce what I would call unnecessary hiring. It's not to eliminate hiring altogether.
Yeah.
It's just to more efficiently utilize your current workforce. Unfortunately, we're still pretty early, so we can't actually make any claim that they're hiring less. But with some of our initial customers, we do have just some qualitative feedback like, oh, hey, I'm a new VP of engineering, so this data is really helpful for me to just understand the lay of the land, instead of having to, sift through, 100 different resumes manually.
So essentially what you're doing, if we were to use an analogy, is just having a better picture being updated almost on a daily basis to know exactly what are your the talent pool available. So it's just a better talent pool management system. Thanks to information.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think just the skills inventory alone that gives you a broader picture of the skills that are available at the company, but with drill down capabilities. So you can, drill down to company locations, different company departments, and then through to skills and see all of the resources who have experience with those skills. And so that just the skills inventory alone, just being able to know what you have, I think is really the more basic, but also the most profound thing that we do.
How big is the gap between what the HR currently got with the CVs and what you're able to provide with your system? Is it like 10 times more skills, 100 times more skills? How big is the difference?
Yeah, we're trying to get to those exact numbers that we can quote.
Yeah.
So with the limited examples that we have thus far, because again we're very early, you know, we have one client that that has an engineering team of 50, 50 people, and so they previously didn't have any skills that were structured and accessible in digital format. So so they were accessible digitally through resumes. Those are PDFs and Word docs. But to be able to, but it's not structured and searchable. So when we implemented with their Jira project management system, we're able to pull all historical data on their employees. And so right off the bat, when they started using the system, they had access to, I think when you count up all the skills across all the employees, including the duplicates, because some of them will have the same skill. It was, I think on average, it was 20, 25 skills. I'd have to check on that, but I think it was, you know, to be able to go from 0 to you know, a couple dozen skills right off the bat. And then that growing, it's a growing repository. And so the number of skills grows over time as people are doing work every day. To be able to go from, you know, 0 to 20, you know, with a, you know, an integration that takes literally 30 seconds. I think that is pretty profound. And then, you know, we can go from there to start addressing a more complex, you know, project management and talent management workflows.
Do you know if some company try to update the CV of the employee on a monthly basis? Is that part of the HR process in the past? And question is, what you're currently doing? So we understand you try to update and get it picture of the talent pool almost on a daily basis using technology. Is it a task that is just not possible to do, checking everything that's going on manually? That's what nobody's doing it?
Yeah, so I think one way to articulate the problem that we're trying to solve is that no, people don't update their CVs and resumes on a monthly basis. And certainly HR managers wouldn't be able to do that, because I don't know how they would even have insights.
What if the HR manager at the end of the month is saying, hey, what did you learn this month? Please keep me posted. Why don't they do that? Yeah,
I don't think that it would be you know, efficient to do it, especially at this point where technology you know, can do a lot of that for us. I don't think it's efficient for, you know, HR managers to do reviews on all employees, especially in that way, especially if you're talking about an HR manager, you know, talking to you know, a software developer about very specific skills that he or she used during that month. I think there would probably be some disconnect
because the reason I'm asking about, you know, updating every month is because I understand technology can help you to keep track of things almost on every second, but do you learn new skills every second? No, right? I mean, the path at which you're going to learn a new thing is probably month, 6 months, a quarter. So you probably need to update your talent pool. And same, you're not going to hire on a daily basis, right? So what's the normal time frame here? I mean, I understand the technology is daily, but when do they need to update the system?
I mean, honestly, I think that that it should be updated in real time.
Okay.
So yes, people don't learn new skills every day. I think you could argue, but what we do with our technology is that we do capture, if not new skills every day, we capture tasks that people do every day using skills that perhaps they already have. And so our algorithm,
one day to another, it could be more task.
Exactly. So think of it like a Google, like we're basically like a you know, the Google search index, but for skills within a company. And so we'll log the volume of tasks that people have completed using a particular skill. We'll capture the recency and the frequency, so that if over the last 2 years, every day you've been doing tasks in JavaScript, well, we can say, okay, well, we haven't tested you on your JavaScript ability, but being continually assigned tasks related to JavaScript, it's sort of a it's strong enough correlation that we can say, okay, well, you're probably the person to reach out to for JavaScript related issues.
Yeah, it makes sense. It does make sense. So you're part of a new trend of tools that are trying to capture information that is currently not being captured by humans, right? So without your technology, HR managers won't be able to know exactly what's going on, how many tasks has been done by A or B. Do you know any other tools that are helping organizations like this to capture using AI information that is there, but nobody is keeping track of things? Do you have a few examples that you could share? Maybe competitors or
Yeah,
maybe in the HR space?
yeah, I guess, you know, I'm not trying to be evasive here, but I don't know of anybody doing exactly what we do, and which is why what we're doing, I think, was so interesting to me at first, but also challenging, because to be able to tell the story of what we do, people don't necessarily have a great frame of reference. You know, we can't say that, you know, we're the Google of this or the, you know, Yelp of that. But what the opportunity, I think it brings up an opportunity, though, because there are a lot of companies doing interesting things in the HR talent mobility space. There are a lot of companies like Gloat, Fuel 50, Phenom People, a newer company called Hitch, that are building internal talent marketplaces. And so they are really focusing on people finding their next job opportunity at the company they're currently at. And I think that there is an opportunity to partner with companies like that, ability to partner with more traditional HR systems to provide these new skills, but then also provide the talent mobility part to it, where we will not only show you all the skills, we'll show you within context how it relates to what they might learn next and how it aligns with perhaps company strategy.
Okay, so right now you're focusing on skills, essentially skills for tech companies. Now you told me that told us that you're trying to move from sales marketing. I guess once you have your NLP and AI working, you can then analyze probably some text, and a lot of work now is text-based, right? Because due to COVID, people are moving to Microsoft Teams, Slack. So I guess for your technology, it's actually more data to analyze. So what's the future of Encube? Is it to capture any piece of information that can help HR manager to understand what's going on? It could be mood of someone, trying to predict if the person is going to quit by checking the conversation. What's the future of Encube? Because the potential is probably limitless.
Yeah.
What's the next move?
Yeah. That's a great question. I think that for now and the foreseeable future, we kind of want to focus on the hard skills. We're not. I haven't thought about sentiment analysis because I know that there are a lot of companies that focus on that, and I think that it's such a specialized field, and honestly, one that I'm just like a little bit afraid to get into because there's always that when you're looking at company systems and using robots and trying to infer meaning from things, there's a little bit of a big brother aspect to it that I think scares people off. But so we're not reading your emails, we're not reading your private Slack conversations, we're just looking at your work, what can be only construed as your work. So project tasks, activity in CRM, things like that. So we're looking to get hard skills. And so it's just a no nonsense approach. And so where we expand will be into new company functions and departments. So if we move into finance and accounting, there is a treasure trove of skills and different technologies that we have to capture, and that's partly a manual process for us to be able to then train our AI. So there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it'll take some time. But I think that we have a strong foundation with our technology skills ontology, and to be able to branch out. And so we have a lot of the, kind of experience under our belt to be able to repeat that in other.
So you're gonna keep being busy with just this for a couple of years before being in all the fields and then trying to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think part of it will be opportunistic. And so, if we have a large enterprise that, is in a particular type of manufacturing or biotechnology, we can build those skill taxonomies alongside them and co-develop them for their purposes. But there are just certain strategic areas like sales and marketing and finance and accounting that we'll want to move into on our own.
Okay. And I guess also when it comes to skills, the impact of having the right information is also higher for an organization, because one of the bigger costs, it's staff, right? So by optimizing that for the organization, the return on investment is really, really big. So it makes a lot of sense. Now, it's all good. It's all great, but is there any limitation? I mean, is it working all the time? Do you have some failure to share with us? Or the system is always working? Do you have some stories where it didn't work?
I wish I had a good funny one. Really, a lot of I'm not hands-on with the training of the AI. Okay. So I'll have to get back to you on that. Okay. But I do know that, we test it with data sets all the time, and there are probably some funny things that happen where certain things get attributed to
wrong person or system.
But luckily at this point, it's all all those mistakes were just basically lab tests, not live clients.
So no monster is out and telling a person that he knows JavaScript and now he's in charge of the JavaScript project, but he's got no clue. So
yeah. And we have to be humble. Like, it's artificial intelligence. It's not real intelligence. So, so I think that there are going to be, bumps along the road, but the idea is just to continually improve, and more data that goes through it, the better it'll be.
So it's really about getting more data. So it's basic. It's any AI NLP model is just feeding the beast with more data. But do you think there's some skills that are going to be harder, more difficult to get? For instance, public speaking. How are you going to tell if someone is good at public speaking? I mean, I guess some skills are more challenging, right?
Yeah. So whether we actually get to softer skills or skills that are otherwise more difficult to get, I don't know. I think that for the time being, we're okay with focusing on more technical skills and skills that are project-based, where skills are documented a little bit better within the systems that people use every day. So I think that we have enough green pasture to work with, just in software development, sales and marketing, finance and accounting, and then maybe some R&D fields and kind of more scientific fields.
When it comes to soft skills, I guess it's any soft skill is going to be challenging. Empathy, or capacity to work with colleagues, team spirit, leadership, management, all of that. I have no clue how you could actually use NLP to take that.
And I think that there's tons of opportunity there. And sentiment analysis is a part of AI that is already I think a multi-billion-dollar business. We don't have any intention of getting into that, because I think that we have our own
partnering with the different companies so that you can syndicate and say we do hard skill and soft skills.
We'd be open to it. Honestly, it's not on our radar, but if you know of any companies, I'm certainly interested in talking to them.
Interesting, because now when I talk with many people, coaches, and they all say 21st century is going to be soft skill, because AI is going to be replacing a lot of hard skill. So if you want to make a difference, then it's soft skill. So I guess from an HR perspective, being able to know in the company who got good soft skills and actually improve those, it's quite interesting to know.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think that depending on, it's a matter of getting the time horizon right. Like, I don't know when that will be, that
Yep.
the technical skills won't be as useful anymore, and it'll be more about soft skills. Because I think that with the advance of technology, you know, new technology skills, pop up, and there's always going to be a need for somebody to develop the system or develop the next generation system, until we reach that singularity,
I mean, that's for a different podcast.
yeah, different podcast. Yeah. And I'm probably not the right person to talk about that. We could have a really dumb, smart conversation with me. But if it happens in 30 years, let's say there's still, 30 years where you need to, hire software developers and other people with technical skills.
Yeah. So can you, I don't know if you can, but it would be great. Go through with us like a journey from one of your customer, and they had a problem, and they reach out to you. How does it look like? What were the output? They save time, money. I mean, what's the process? How long does it take to set it up? How much data they need to have? Does it work for a team of two, for instance, or is it useless? What's the process here?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're constantly trying to figure out exactly who it works for. So recently we a customer signed with just a team of 12, and they're all engineers, and they're all offshore too, in Southeast Asia, and they simply want to. So it's basically the founding team is in the United States, and they wanted to just get a better view of the skills of their offshore team, so that they can redeploy for new projects and just really understand like the skills they have available, so that it may actually change the nature of the next project. Knowing that certain skills are available and perhaps not others. There's another company that I was mentioning before with an engineering team of 60, and they're redeploying resources for new projects all the time. And while I don't have a specific example of where they've started a project, because they've just started with the system, the idea is that they would be able to understand all of the different like the long tail of skills, who has experience with very specific technologies, and therefore this person and not this person should be deployed on that project. And so I think that there's a project efficiency, and so there's a time saving there. And then in the long run, if every year there's just one new hire that you can avoid, just simply by making the best use of the employees that you have, there's huge ROI there. If you're talking about say a software developer with that makes 6 figures in US dollars, that could be huge savings there.
Yeah, obviously. So you mentioned that you actually are a software developer yourself. So since you're in this field, did you realize you never actually keep track of what you learn all over the years? Is it something that maybe you try to do for yourself?
I mean, since I'm more of a generalist, it's easier to keep track of my skills. So it's like HTML, CSS, JavaScript, not a lot beyond that. WordPress, things like that. But the system's not really built for me. It's built for people who are really working deeply in technology on a day in, day out, and maybe have some experience in a variety of different technology worlds. And so maybe they worked on a Java stack here, then they worked on a mean stack somewhere else, and then they worked in Ruby, something like that. And just be able to know that, okay, well, that person does have some experience in this, and so maybe we can tap them for this new project, instead of hiring another Ruby developer or Java developer, whatever the case is.
The B2C option is absolutely not an option for you. It's going to be B2B 100%. There's no plan for Encube to start a virtual tool or Chrome extension that keep track of all the things that someone is going to learn over the year, student, or it's not part of your roadmap?
Yeah, so that's a very interesting question. A similar question comes up a lot. It's like, do you have your talent profiles configured such that people can port their data with them? So I think it's not the Chrome extension vision that you were talking about, but just the ability of people to take their data elsewhere. I think the extent to which we get market penetration in, say like in any one area like software development, I think we would be able to have some sort of, I think they used to call it like a V card, where it's like an exportable
V card. Yeah,
format.
absolutely. Yeah.
And so we could create our own version of that, but more complex one where it shows the relationships between the technologies that they've worked on a daily basis, and port that into their next job where they have our system working there as well. Or just in a more visually pleasing and intuitive format that they can just present to their next employer as their resume, and show the volume of tasks that they completed at their last job using Java or using JavaScript or whatever it is. So yeah, I think that there is that angle. Whether I would call, I don't know if I would call that a B2C, because I don't think that we would, target.
I mean, the money is not there for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but it would just be a kind of like an offshoot of a B2B play.
Yeah. All right, it was a pleasure to learn more about Encube. Thank you very much for your time, and we wish you all the best. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.